So today we're going to talk about the roof and the roof line. How do we mount props on the roof and how do we mount props on the outline of the roof. As you can see here, it's a pretty steep pitch. I don't mind getting on my roof, but I also like to know that underneath me I have a security blanket of falling down on the lower part of my roof like you see here. Not so much on this side. I'll show you how I did it safely next. So now I'm going to show you how I outline my roof. For my roof, I outline the lower edge, the top, and the vertical sides. For the lower edge and the vertical sides, I use the ChromaTrim from Boscoyo. It comes in 1-inch intervals. I use 2-inch. My entire outline of the house, verticals and horizontals, is all 2-inch spacing. Just like my verticals, down low, I use Schedule 40 PVC to help hold it. So to attach the ChromaTrim to it, zip tied throughout. So what I use to hang or to help hold my PVC and ChromaTrim to the roof is hanger strapping. You can buy this in rolls from a local big box hardware store, like Home Depot, Lowe's. It's fairly inexpensive. It's very pliable, moldable. And what I do is I simply just wrap it around in 2 pieces, or it's 1 piece that's just wrapped around. I tried screwing it in so it wouldn't move, but then I discovered I like how it just it flexes. And once you put it together, put 2 pieces in, slide it under, and it's pretty stationary. And like I said, this has been up since September for me, and so now it's going on over 4 months, and it has not come out at all. It came out just now when I took it out. But that's a good way to hold it in, and it's very strong, very secure. Now for my gutter, it's pretty simple. Same thing, ChromaTrim on the attached to Schedule 40 PVC. For me, it just rests right on top of the gutter itself. No need to use any gutter clips or anything else to help hold it down. It's been here the entire season, 4 months, and no issues other than down near the downspout. I've had it cut twice by some animal, but other than that, no big deal. It's been stationary the entire time and pretty solid. So now up on the roof, I want to show you how I attached my roof props, which includes these Boscoyo snowflakes. They're 48 pixels each, as well as the 100 pixel spiders from Boscoyo they use for Halloween. The idea came from George, Magical Light Shows, where he uses a piece of 1/2-inch EMT. It's bent into a U on the bottom for a base, and then a vertical piece coming off of that. And what I did is I attach it to a wood base, typically a 2x6, or in this case 2x4 with a 5 1/4 piece underneath it. And then I attached them to my leftover 5 1/4 privacy fence pickets. And the reason I did this is for safety. Like I said in the beginning of the video, for the pitch on this side of my roof. It's very steep, and unlike the portion of the roof I'm on now, there is no safety net essentially for a lower roof in case I were to slip and slide down. I did not, and I do not want to put my feet on that side of the roof and risk possible injury. So what I did is I came up with the idea of using these planks to create, a guide for me. Essentially, I would attach the prop to the frame, and then I could use the actual wood to slide down from the top the snowflake or the spider. It worked out really well, and for me it was nice to be able to have a consistent interval, not only from side to side but from front to back. So for the most part they were all together in a line, with the exception of the ones on the lower roof, just because it is a little bit lower, so they tend to look a little bit further down. but I just adjusted the height of that snowflake, or of those 3 snowflakes, to match the height over here. Overall, it worked out really well. And how I attached, and I'll show you more in a moment, is there are 2 holes drilled on the end, and I ran zip ties through, zip tying to the ridge vent on the top of my roof. Now to the actual snowflake, I used the EMT hanger like I used in my verticals, my other props. Worked out well. The only issues I discovered is when you're tightening these, it's such a small opening, you have to pry open the actual connector and then use a pair of pliers or a socket to tighten it. But then when you close it back, it loosens up. So the problem I had this year, it's hard to see, is it will spin and loosen up over time. None of them fell off. Some of them slid down, but then I also came back and reinforced a little bit. You can see here with a zip tie just to pull them back. It had some tension to it, which helped for the most part. One thing in the off season I need to take care of is figuring out a way I can get these locked into place without being able to twist and move around. If you have 2, they tend to hold better because they work with each other and they don't allow each other to spin. So that may be my solution, where I add a second one. But for the most part, that's something that I have to work on and figure out what's a better solution. So now, running my pixels on the roof, which include the 9 snowflakes and the entire outline, are 2 smart receivers. So when I had this connected, I had one Cat 45 cable coming up from one K8 connected to this box, and then daisy chain from this box out over to that box over there, is a second smart receiver, and just daisy chain them together. So essentially they were running off 4 ports over 2 smart receivers. And so inside the box, similar to my other builds, is I run HP power supplies. It is a bit overkill for the needs of this smart receiver, but I can expand, add more receivers in here, add more controllers as needed, which is good. Don't have to worry about buying more power supplies. But just like my other videos, HP with the JBoards Breakout board, Falcon smart receiver, and I have it where I have coming in and data going out. Some of my boxes have 2 smart receivers inside the same box, so we're running 2 off 1 HP versus just a single. I know my display next year will require more of the doubles. And then also the vent over here, just to help get some air running through it. These do not get particularly hot, which is nice, but it's always safe to have those on just in case. Now, showing you from the upper level of how steep this pitch is, and there's no roof on the bottom part. Now you can see why I used the wood planks as my extensions essentially for my props. Worked out really well, and you can see right here the holes zip tied and connected into the drainage slots of the ridge vent. Like I said, worked out really well. All of my stuff up here, it's on the ridge vent, is tied to it, zip tied. They held up well, nothing came loose. The ridge vent's still fine, no issues. The one word of advice is I would certainly give you is make sure if you use this type of system, where you have one lower than the other and you're gonna extend them out somehow with wood or some other piece of equipment, make sure you lower one, make sure you connect all of your connections first before you put them in place. Make sure they're all daisy chained if you're daisy chaining them, but then start with your shortest piece first and then extend out your longest piece. It's much easier to do it that way than trying to lower them down and then figure out how to put the cables on. So remember, extensions by lots of them, and then do the shortest run first, have them all tied together, and then lower down your center piece or your longest piece, and then you're safe, you're good, you don't have to worry about anything. One thing that I know for next year I'm gonna have to change is anytime I had a prop that was on the end and I couldn't tie it into the ridge vent, especially near my chimney. I had to tie it to the my Schedule 40, which worked. It was fine, but it did flex. So one thing I'll have to change for this portion is create a, with the planks, create a hinge. So I have one piece on this side, then on the opposite side, connected with probably some zip ties, just a counterweight, counterbalance to help hold it in place. And so once again, once you're on a roof, safety, safety, safety. Please remember, safety is your #1 concern. It's cheaper to replace a prop, replace some lights, than it is to go to the hospital. Luckily for me, I'm on a 1-story house, so I'm not up terribly high. And where I am, I have a lot of places for safety as far as having a shallower roof underneath me. So once again, appreciate you checking out my behind the scenes. Hope you have a good year. Plan early, plan often, plan to ask questions, always ask for help. Keep learning, keep researching. And thanks again. Like, subscribe, leave me some comments. Hope this has served you well.